everyone. Welcome to this week's Karma Cards. I am your host, Therese Tucker. So if you've been following along with Karma Cards every week, last week you'll know we dived into Saturn moving into Aries, which is our dose of reality about who we really are. Who are you on the inside, and is it matching on the outside? And of course, the building of the authentic self. If you want to go more into it, check out the last episode I did, because that will set it up for you and help you understand what we're being asked to do from Saturn's point of view. This week, there are a couple of planetary shifts that are going to support us in a way that feels very nurturing to doing the work. And there's another big planetary movement. So already in the year 2025, we've had several outer planets move their signs. That includes Pluto officially moving into the sign of Aquarius, Neptune moving into the sign of Aries, and Saturn, which just joined Neptune in the sign of Aries. This month in June, we've got Jupiter making its move. But let's talk about the other planetary movements happening with that move this week. So first, we've got Mercury moving into the sign of Cancer. Now, Mercury moves quickly. And now, Mercury's been sitting in its sign of Gemini, which is one of the signs Mercury rules. That gives us a lot of curiosity, a desire to learn and absorb knowledge. It's more analytical though, so it's more in our left hemisphere. Now, Mercury on June 5th is going to move into the sign of Cancer, which kind of moves Mercury's energy into our right hemisphere, where Gemini always wants to learn and wants to know all the things. Cancer likes to intuit the knowledge that it gets. So Cancer is ruled by the moon, and it is considered one of our more intuitive signs. It connects us to our inner world. It connects us to our home life and to our family, and its roots go all the way back to our past, our early childhood, and specifically connect with the mother energy. So where in Gemini, conversations might be quick moving, they might go through a lot of topics, and our desire to express or understand things is at an all-time high. When Mercury moves into Cancer, the conversations become more heart-centered, more relationship-focused, and a lot more emphasis is placed on empathy and compassion. One of the things that we might have to watch out for here with Mercury in Cancer is the feelings of insecurity, because that is one of the things that our lovely Cancer sign has to deal with. Cancer, because it feels so deeply and it feels so emotionally available, tends to feel very vulnerable, hence why the crab is its icon, because the crab represents that hard shell we have to put around something very soft and squishy. And so with our thoughts going here, we might find that things like the feeling of imposter syndrome or insecurities about how we are expressing ourselves or how to communicate in relationship can come up with this energy. But again, for the most part, the conversations have a desire to be heartfelt and make a real connection with each other. Just a small correction there. I said June 5th that happens. It's actually June 8th. On June 5th, we've got Venus moving into its home sign of Taurus. So Venus loves to be in her sign of Taurus. This is where we get to do the cozy life. This is where we get to do sensual summer. This is where we get to really enjoy being in our physical body. That's one of the things that Venus in Taurus likes to experience, is just being in the physical body, the sensation of touch, the delicious food, the being able to rest, the being able to play, to have a beautiful, aesthetically pleasing environment. So these things are going to come up to the forefront as Venus is hanging out in her home sign of Taurus, a desire to surround yourself with something beautiful. So again, as in the background, we're still doing this work about releasing a false persona and really adopting our true nature, or creating that alignment within ourselves. That's still going on. But starting from June 5th, moving forward with Venus in this placement, there is this desire to sort of like do nice things for yourself and for others, to create an environment that sort of reflects back to you what you want to create. In fact, you can use Venus's energy to help you do that. So as you are getting more and more in alignment with who you are authentically, you can use your environment to help reflect that back to you, to help strengthen it in your environment. So what is something you're trying to develop for yourself? If you're trying to develop a better self-care routine, for example, maybe you might do something in your environment to show that, like, take your towels and roll them up in a fancy way, like they would do it like a spa or something, and have them near your bathtub with a candle and some bubble bath, something that's sort of encouraging you to take time to slow down and enjoy yourself. That might be one way that you could reflect in your environment that which you are trying to nurture or foster in yourself. So if you take a moment, think about that. What is something you're trying to foster or nurture in yourself, right? If you wanted to, let's say, to be more disciplined or reliable, you might get a planner as an example, but make it a planner that's beautiful, that you love to engage with. You love the way it feels or the way it looks, so that you want to engage with it more. This is a time where the aesthetics around you can actually help build what you desire to create in your life. Then the big planetary move on June 9th, so right after Mercury moves into Cancer, we also have Jupiter joining Mercury in Cancer. So now the way that we wish to grow and expand, the way that we wish to feel abundant in our life, also moves into this very sensitive, intuitive, and nurturing sign of Cancer. Now this transit is going to last through June 30th of 2026. So we'll probably see a retrograde in there as well, but it's about a year to a year and a half that we experience this energy. Jupiter is all about growth, and the growth when it comes to the sign of Cancer is about growing our connections with our family, our connection with our inner world, our connection to security and safety. Because even though Cancer is a sign that can experience that insecurity, what it ultimately wants is to create security in itself, and this specifically from an emotional point of view. So even as we have things happening where, like, Saturn and Neptune are helping you build the dream, right? They're going to bring this dream into reality. It's going to come through the persona, if you will, and not a fake persona, but rather a more soul-related identity that's being built. And again, when Saturn's in there, it can feel kind of heavy. There's a lot of nurturing that comes in right after that move in Saturn. Then all of this emotional support energy moves in. And remember, each of these signs has its positive aspects and its negative aspects. So in order to stay on the positive side of this energy, we want to flow with the guidance. So what the cosmos is doing is a type of energy clock, right? So as the cosmos moves and shifts its planetary positions, it tells you what time it is. And the time right now is this growth and expansion, this bringing this soul level into the physical reality even more. We're always being called to do that, and it's letting us know, like, as you do that work, you will get this sense of support. And as you get this sense of support, it can create that emotional security that you're looking for. If we're resisting the growth that we're being told it's time, like this is the perfect time to grow here, and if we resist that, then we can start feeling the negative, insecure aspects of these planetary placements. So Cancer has an emphasis on home and family, and that brings me to the message of the team. And the message from the team this week is that we're doing it together. So as we add support for each other, as we're showing that support for each other's growth, we're growing together. Now, last week when we talked about it, it was like, listen, you got to be responsible for your own growth here. And you're not, if you're putting everybody else's needs ahead of yours, then you're forgetting to work on yourself. So it still is a situation where you put your own oxygen mask on before you help another do that. But the truth is, we're doing this collectively and we're reaching success together. And the card that comes up, I just had to show it to you, is the Six of Discs, and in my deck, that's called Success. There's a group of people standing at the top, and what it really says to me is we reach this success point together. Like, we're going to reach this ascension point together. But the together work that we do is like we're all working on our assignments at the same time. Does that make sense? So it's like you can't do someone else's assignment for them. And that's a hard one, especially if you're a very observant person. If you observe the pattern, if you observe patterns easily and you can see how someone is like falling into the same pattern, it can be really tempting to want to go around fixing and helping. Again, that's not really how we support each other. We support each other by also doing the work. So if we're doing the work, we're having an effect and an impact on others. And to make it even simpler, it's that frequency affects frequency. And specifically, the more positive the frequency, the higher the impact it has on those around them. So what this is saying is like, look, you might see people within your family unit or that are close to you who you're looking at and you're like, they're not doing the work, or they're avoiding the work. It's really easy for your mind to want to go and focus on them getting their work done. But it's really important that we recognize, no. I got to make sure I'm doing my work, right? So no one's assigned to your work but you. And we're not assigned to anyone else's work. So if we're going around trying to make sure everyone's doing their work, are we doing ours? And we need to understand that just by doing your work, you're elevating the energy around you. So as we work on ourselves, as we get into alignment with who we truly are, as we learn how to create that chain of integrity within ourselves between thought, word, and deed, right? As we strengthen those chains of integrity and our true nature is more visible because that's what we're truly radiating, we will naturally raise the frequency around us and people will rise to meet that. Now, we have no control over what they do or not, and that's not really the point. The point is that we are doing this together. We're all taking the test at the same time, right? We're in the same room. Now, where we're at the test, that's at the individual level, but the point is this is the testing time. Tests are going on. And by you being focused on your exam and really doing the work, you're creating a frequency that other people can tap into. It makes it a little easier for them to recognize it, or they'll be inspired by it, right? So we do this together. And this is just in case anyone's like, I'm so worried, I'm doing my work, but I'm worried my partner isn't doing theirs, and that could be a problem. Again, we're being asked to trust the system and how it works and understand that the only one that you've been assigned to focus on this for is yourself. And if you're doing that, you're doing the work as required. So with that, let's look at this week's karma cards and see what it adds to the message. Right? If you're new to karma cards, let me quickly show you how these work. I have 3 decks here. Planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And I've already asked my team what's the message for this week. And I've got 2 sets of answers, a set in red, which are action related, and a set in blue, which are outcome related. And the way that you play is you tune in with that beautiful intuition of yours and feel what is the guidance you need this week. Are you looking for action related guidance or outcomes? And of course, you can always choose both. And while you're choosing, let me tell you the timing for this reading. This reading is from June 4th through June 11th. And the flavor of this reading, we've got Pluto. I don't know, every time I see Pluto, I'm like, oh, the work. That's what I feel like. Pluto is the empowerment purge planet. If it doesn't give you power, it's getting taken out, right? So if it's not empowering you, it's got to go. In the sign of Gemini, which is currently where we are in the sun cycle. So again, this is us wanting to learn, wanting to absorb, understand, and express what we are getting, and also like trying to do all the things. In the second house, which is Taurus rules that, which is ruled by Venus. So this has to do with our, again, the environment, what we value, what we create through our work that we get to enjoy. All right, for those who are choosing action, your spiritual action at this time is to resurrect what you want to be known patiently. This feels like a nice coupling from last week's karma cards in regards to all the work we're being asked to do on our authentic self and bringing that forward. So resurrect, meaning it was always there. So bring it back, what you want to be known, what's true about you patiently. This is going to take time because Saturn's involved, and that means it takes some time. But you're building it to last. It's not going to be cheaply made or cheaply built. It's going to be built with quality and hard work, and it's going to withstand the test of time. All right, mental action at this time. Get to the heart of what you believe about what you want. All right, so this is telling me that we got to talk layers. We got to drill down through the layers. What do you want? Now, why do you want it? There's usually a few layers. Like the thing we think we want isn't always what we actually want. And so we have to drill down to those layers. Like if I think I want a big house, as an example, why would I want a big house? Because a big house will give me more space. Well, what does more space give me? Gives me freedom or room to breathe. That's, there's the drill down. I want to feel free. I want to feel like I have room to breathe. And what would that give me? That room to breathe. That would give me a sense of peace, maybe. So it's asking us to do the drill down. What do you think you want? Why do you think you want it? What does that give you? Right? So as we drill down, we understand, because here's the thing. Ultimately, all the external things that we think we want, like the big house, that big house, at least in my example, is connected to freedom and peace. Those are the things that I want the most. Well, the good news is I don't need the big house to get them, but if I want the big house, I have to be in those states. Does that make sense? So everything that we want, that we think we want, has a baseline energy to it. And we want to learn how to tap into the baseline energy. So if you ask yourself, what do I want? Why do I want it? And what does that give me? Eventually down through those layers, you're going to figure out what the baseline is of that thing you want, right? If you can figure out what the baseline is, you can start practicing it now. So let's say I figured out the baseline is freedom and peace. And I believe that that big house gives me that. Well, how can I practice being in a state of freedom and being in a state of peace right now? Because if I can practice that, what I'm doing is I'm being an energetic match to that thing that I wish I want. Now, we might find that as we start practicing our baseline, nothing needs to change. We might be like, actually, I feel good now and nothing needs to change. And that's fine. Or we might find that, no, I still want the external representation. Well, the external representation lives on the same frequency as that baseline. So the more we're practicing that, the more we're energetically aligning to the external thing being part of our experience. Right, physical action at this time, do or die. You must use the quickest way and get what you need. Okay, so the quickest way is frequency. Okay, that's the quickest way. You could have it right now if you can get in the frequency. And I know, like, for some people listening, you're like, I'm really far away from that external thing. It's the baseline that it's talking about here, because the baseline is what we're experiencing. Everything that you're experiencing now, good, bad, or neutral, is connected to the baseline you feel. So if the baseline that you feel right now is stress, if that's your baseline frequency that you go back into, stress is a match to what you're experiencing in your life. As you change your frequency, your baseline, things start to change around you. Pluto is like, hey, don't wait on this. Don't sleep on it. You got to do it right now. If you want to feel more empowered, look at your baseline. To get to your baseline, figure out what you want, Why do you want it? And what does that mean to you? All right, now let's look at outcomes for Pluto in Gemini in the second house of worth and value. Spiritual outcome at this time, the need for control of information to explain your beliefs. All these big planetary fluctuations create a lot of stress. They create a lot of ripples, I should say. That could be stress for some people, but they shift how we're looking at our life. Even if we're not paying attention to the planetary placements, even if that's not a thing, where it still has this ripple effect out on us. It's like a stone in a pond. If the planet changes signs, it's like the stone drops in the pond and the ripples start going out across the universe and we feel it. So it has an effect on our mind and how we're seeing our life. And I definitely felt that with the Saturn into Aries. I was like, that felt like a downshift to me. I'm like, oh, I was humming along nicely there. And then this showed up, right? Now we're back here having to do this sort of deep dive into who do you think you are? When we feel those shifting gears, my team is saying, when we feel that shifting gears, the ego wants to get control here. Maybe it wants to go back to what it feels is right. That's something that sometimes I come across with clients, is they're trying to get back to something. And everything has a season and a cycle. It's like, imagine like trying to control summer and make it last longer because you don't like winter or something like that. And it's like, everything has a season. So there are times where our energy feels higher and more alignment. And then there are times where it's like, this is not my season, man. Like when is it summer again? When is it my season again? So there's a little bit of that energy that I'm feeling like. It's like, but I felt good right now. I don't want to think about these things. Things are going well. And then you start to feel that rippling effect, that shift, and it shows up in whatever way it's going to show up for us. There's a desire to sort of shift back or like steer our boat out of that water. We don't want to go where those ripples are going, maybe. Because part of what's going on right now is that kind of deep down shakeup of like, who do you think you are? But it's not being asked in that very like indignant tone, like, who do you think you are? It's not being asked like that. It's like, who do you think you are? In a don't you know what you are kind of way by the universe. Sometimes I literally had a dream where that happened. That somebody said that to me. It's like they were looking at me in this way where they could see something I couldn't see, and they're like, who do you think you are? Do you not know? And I was like, no. Like, I don't know. Really interesting. And I feel like that's going on for us right now, sort of collectively. Maybe you're in that space where you're feeling it. Maybe you're not. What I'm getting is that's the ripple that's coming out. So maybe we're on a different ripple. If you're not feeling it yet, that's okay. Like, enjoy it. And if you do feel it, maybe it doesn't bother you as much. But the ego wants to get back to, maybe the ego even doesn't want us to ask that question, because the ego has built something for you to think who you are. This is who you are. You know, Therese is who I am. And this is I'm a being that does this. And those are my functions. But that's also built by this identity that the ego built. And again, I don't hate the ego. I think the ego is a gift to us to help us understand things. But at some point, the ego's... okay, here's the metaphor that's coming through. The team is saying the ego is like your Apple phone, okay? Your Apple phone, let's say it's a 10. Let's say you still have a 10 phone. And it's been updating its operating systems and it's working fine. And at some point it's like, I can't upgrade to that system. And so it's kind of stuck. So what are your choices? Get a new phone or be stuck at that operating system? The ego, as my team has said, we've left the 3D. We're in the 4D. So the ego's operating system stops updating at that point. So either we retire the operational system, meaning what the ego built, not the ego itself, what the ego built to believe it was, and we go with the new model, which is what we actually are, a return to something true, or we try to keep operating from that old system. And we can get by with that for a while, but no, it's like things will keep upgrading and that operating system has stopped updating. I hope that makes sense. I hope that metaphor makes sense to you. So there's a need to sort of control that scenario. Mental outcome at this time, an obsession with communications about what you value. I feel like this has to do with that baseline comment, right? It's really, we want to figure out what's the baseline energy of what we want, and then we can try to move into that frequency. And as we move into that frequency and hold it, then we can start manifesting the things that match that frequency. I can see this being like a big project this week. Like, okay, I gotta find some freaking peace here, because I want what comes with the peace thing. So that, again, with Pluto involved, there is this element of like trying to control the situation. Like, I'm going to use my mind powers. I'm going to use my frequency powers to control the situation. And it's like, you can. You can do that. Is that the most aligned way? Is that going to be the easiest? I mean, I feel like the things that we need to learn or grow from in our current state, we will continue to get those pinging back into our environment until we've learned it, right? Because we have certain soul markers that was like, these are the things, these are the lessons, Therese, that you came into this earth school with, right? These are the lessons that you said you signed up for to take. So I must do my lessons. And if I figure out ways to like circumnavigate those lessons, I might be able to like skip class once in a while, but the teacher's eventually going to come up to me and be like, you got to finish taking these tests, right? In order to move forward. And I kind of get that feeling here. Like, we're going to try and manipulate energy, manipulate with our mind, really dig into what we want, really try to find those frequencies and hone in, and maybe like circumvent some work stuff we got to do. And like I said, you can skip classes for a while. Maybe you can get around it for a few days, but eventually the teacher is going to come up to you and be like, here's your test. Here's your class. These are the classes you missed. And they still come back. So even as we master energy, we don't get to outdo lessons unless we've learned them. I mean, there's all sorts of ways to learn them, but we don't get to like opt out. I don't know if that's a resonating energy with everyone who reads on this. I think that some people think we can opt out. I think there's smaller lessons you can opt out of, but there are some bigger ones where it's like, no, you got to get this one, because the whole point is graduation. That's what the ascension is. And you want to graduate, right? And these teachers, these energetic lessons, they're like, you want to graduate, right? Like, let's get this done to move forward. So I feel like there's a little bit of, I don't know, we're just trying to manipulate the energy, see what we can get away with this week. And physical outcome at this time, a power struggle resulting from the fluctuations of your resources. The lessons learned give you resources. So it's like credits. Again, they're like giving me this whole college metaphor, but the lessons learned are the credits. Those are your resources in this scenario. And again, like I said, we're just trying to see what we can get away with. Like, how many classes do I have to attend in order to get these credits? So there's a little bit of energy of wanting to like dodge things here. I don't want to do the work right now, or I want to figure out the shortcut, the life hack here. I want to like just hack frequency and get all my needs met by figuring out how to hack into a frequency and maintain it. And it's like, I don't get that the universe is upset by that at all. Like, go ahead and experiment. I mean, that's part of what you're here to do. This is like an open style class situation here. So go ahead, experiment, try it. See if you can hold it, but don't be upset if you find that like the lessons come back. That's okay. It's like one of those things where it's like, okay, I tried this different approach, and I still find that I got this lesson. And no matter how much I change my frequency or my thoughts around it, it's still here. So then I'm hearing from the universe, okay, well, what approach haven't you take? The direct approach, the face it approach? Are you just always trying to work around it? Or are you facing it? Because a lot of these bigger lessons are like, there's no under, over, or around. There's only through, right? So the universe is like, go ahead, hun. Like, go over, go under, go around, see what happens. And you're going to get, you can get really good understanding by doing them. But for some of these things, it's like no matter how much I change my frequency, I end up dealing with blank. Instead of struggling against that and feeling upset, like, oh, none of this works, frequency is BS, it's not, manifesting doesn't happen, blah, blah, blah. Instead of losing faith in any of that stuff, just realize that some things, the only way to really move past it is to move through it. And I feel like that hits us a little bit this week, is that we're struggling against that. And maybe we're looking at our tools and going, these tools don't work. And it's like, no, those tools don't do the job, but they work, just not for that, right? So it's an interesting week in energy. You get to play. You get to try and move things around. The frequency thing is real, so definitely tap into that. Understand that, you kind of know what your big lessons are. If you're trying to skip that class, I know I am. I'd love to skip some of those classes, right? Go ahead. It's like, give it a try, experiment, but understand that unless it really helps you, it's going to come back to deal with, because there's the Pluto energy. So we're all in it together. We're taking the class at the same time. Try things out, experiment, but don't get too down on yourself if you find that, now I still have to take that test there. It's just part of how it is. And with that, I'm sending you so much love. Mwah.